Welcome in to another episode of the WestsLife Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Barnett. We are sponsored by Holman Barnes Group, which includes West Ashfield Leagues Club, the best place to watch the game live and loud this Saturday night. The game we're previewing this evening as we take on the Melbourne Storm. Probably be a little bit cozy and warmer than out at Campbelltown, but the three of us, we are going to brave the cold. But if you don't want to be nice and snug and warm, head to West Ashfield, grab a feed at the Garden Bistro, walk on and a beer, and hopefully celebrate maybe a Tigers upset. We'll see what happens. But at WestsLife Pod on Instagram and Twitter, please give us a follow on there. Linktree link is on those as well. You can find all our pipes through there, including our Patreon. Shouts to our Patreon members at patreon.com/WestLife. You guys have probably, let's say, half an hour as I read this out to drop any questions for later in the show. So we have a couple in the Discord. And also shouts to everyone tuning in right now on YouTube. Please, while you're there, subscribe, like, share, fax it to someone, tell a friend. Yeah, spread the word of the show that you love. I assume you're loving because you're tuning in on a Wednesday night and seeing all our comments coming in from our loyal regulars as well. Let's go to Az. Mate, it's pretty freezing in Sydney on a Wednesday night, but I bet it's a little bit warmer than back in Orange at the moment.
Yeah, g'day Josh, g'day Rob, g'day watchers and listeners. You're not wrong, it is a bit brisk this evening, but yeah, definitely warmer than what Orange would be right now, that's for sure. And I think congratulations are in order to you as well, Josh, for a certain team that became champions in a certain sport that you follow yesterday.
Yes. You're talking about the Denver Nuggets being the champions of the NBA for the first time in their 50-year existence. Thank you, Az. Yes, it was nice to finally get it over the line. And they did it, man, for supporting a team that is very West Tigers like, in that they hardly ever, well, it's the first time they've ever won a title, and they did it losing just 4 times in the playoffs. So they were 16 wins and 4 losses. Like, it was pretty, like, to be honest, we never were losing in all 4 of the series. It's crazy. Like, really thought we had a chance, and I had a little bit of money on us to win, which paid out yesterday, and I blew it all on merchandise with all the champion paraphernalia that they sell a minute after the whistle goes, and they sucked me in for that. But mate, honestly, it's not quite like 2005, because literally I was there, and West Tigers, literally thousands of West Tigers fans around me, and my family were West Tigers fans, but I've made many friends, both in Denver and here, that
I was riding them all the way home for you. It was
yeah, it's unbelievable. I'm sorry to start the show with a minute of basketball talks, but seeing your team win a grand final, and it just makes me just crave the West Tigers getting back to being up there. So
next year.
Mr. Bashara also. At West Tigers fans, your Celtics unfortunately didn't go all the way this year, or last year fell both short. But look, I hope the West Tigers win a premiership before the Celtics do. Put it that way.
Yeah, well, let's focus on the West Tigers. It'd be nice to get the feeling that you've had the last 24 hours or so. I still vaguely remember that feeling. There's a lot of stuff in between, unfortunately, that's dampened it. But and sometimes I think that the legacy of 2005 has been a hindrance in some ways. But yeah, it'd be nice just to get that finals feeling, and just to get that feeling of we're winning, or just like that 10-minute period against Canberra a couple of weeks ago. That just felt so good. The crowd going off.
Yeah,
at Campbelltown was rocking, and you know what we're like when we're in the finals, mate. We pack the stands out. So hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, the thing that sucks about 2000, to be a little bit selfish, 2005, I was 17 and a half. So I was just literally 5 months off being legally able to go out and celebrate. So
there are kids that are 17 and a half that haven't seen a premiership right now. So
and they wouldn't. Yeah, there's 17-year-old Tigers fans that don't remember a semi-final. So true.
Yeah. At least they're not 30-year-old Para fans.
True. Yeah, well, what Para hasn't won since 86, but at least they made it.
Not in my lifetime, and I hope I die before that happens. Big shouts out to our sponsors, West Ashfield, Holman Barnes Group. So, like I said earlier in the show, if you're not heading out to Campbelltown on Saturday night, head to West Ashfield or our favorite little spot, the Markets Club at Homebush, as well. Any of the Holman Barnes Group clubs under their umbrella. You can head to the Garden Bistro and walk on before the game. They have a massive screen, tab. Yeah, great food, great pizzas. You get a Chinese feed to walk on as well. Show your support to the major sponsors of the West Tigers, Holman Barnes Group. For more information, holmanbarnesgroup.com.au. Holman Barnes Group, bringing people together. Righto, to start, we'll have a little bit of news. Our old friend Lee Hadjiban-Tellis went on SEN today to talk about, well, not to talk about it, but he was asked about the Luke Brooks discussion. So I'm just going to play a little clip here from Lee Hadjiban-Tellis on SEN with Andrew Voss and who's the other person with Vossie?
Is it Brandy?
It's Brandy.
Brandy. Sorry, Brandy.
Greg Alexander.
Greg Alexander. For those that don't know. Yeah, I think everyone does. But anyway, here's Lee.
Yes, Andrew. As reported, the club had made Luke what we believe to have been a fair market value offer, managed in accordance with, of course, salary expectations moving forwards. It was a genuine offer, bona fides, because our intention was to retain Luke and keep him as a one-club player. Unfortunately, on Sunday morning, Luke let Benji know that the offer wasn't acceptable, as he's perfectly entitled to respond to the offer, and he wants to test the market. And it was very sad, very disappointing. We had hoped to retain him. I know that Benji and Tim were very keen on him being part of their plans moving forwards, but sometimes commercial reality intrudes.
And what about an early pivot from there, now knowing that Luke's not going to be at the club? Ideas and where you go to from there?
Well, one of the reasons why we've engaged head recruiters such as Scott Fulton, of course, these were challenges that we were already aware of moving forwards, and we know that our roster is very talented, much improved from last year, but further work needs to be done in that space, and young Scott Fulton can now go out and earn the enormous salary that he's being paid.
There you go. Hey, what about a newspaper report on Sunday suggesting Tim Sheens, he might not see out his tenure as coach? What do you got for us there?
Trent, I don't know where this narrative is coming from or why it's being pushed. There are three certainties in life: death, taxes, and Tim Sheens coaching the West Tigers in 23 and 24. Everyone is absolutely committed. Yeah, absolutely committed to that. That's the plan that's been put in place. I was with the boys in Queensland last week on Thursday, and everyone is still absolutely committed and passionate about that transition over the next 2 to 3 years.
All right, let's get off the West Tigers and get to...
As I'll go to you first. Look, we've been critical of management in the past, and while that wasn't overly fun to listen to, I would say, do you like that the club are playing this with a straight bat, not just throwing big money at Brooksy to stay in desperation?
Yeah, I do. I feel like we could probably up the offer a little bit more, but at this point, I wish he'd just shut the hell up. I don't get why he needs to comment on everything. He kind of just opens himself up to the media, but that's an issue for another day. Brooksy, yeah, his turnaround in form has been pretty good. Obviously now he's injured and he's going to spend the next 4 to 6 weeks or whatever being unable to prove to us or to the club, I should say, that he's worth a bit more money than that. He obviously would be able to attempt that when he comes back from his injury, but I'm honestly not really sure how much more any other clubs may be willing to offer him on top of what we are, even if we were to up our offer a little bit more. maybe a Super League club might offer him more. But like I said
be...
last week, I don't see him going there when he's got a young family.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it'd be really hard to uproot and take a less than 1 year old baby across to England. Rob, I saw you shaking your head a little bit as we were watching that. This is the first time you guys are hearing this too. What's your reaction to that?
Interestingly, when you first said you were going to play that, the thing that came to mind was when he said last year, I can't remember the exact date, but he said, as of May, such and such, 2022, Michael Maguire will be coach and will continue to be coach, blah, blah, blah. And then a week and a half later, he was sacked. So I was kind of waiting to hear something like that. The fact that he said, 3 things are certain, what was it, death, taxes, and Sheens will be here in 23, 24. That could come back to bite you in the face if it wasn't true. So you'd have to say on face value that Sheens isn't going anywhere. And let's face it, if Sheens got sacked, I mean, he sued the club before once upon a time and we still hide him back. So I don't think Sheens is going anywhere. As for Brooks, I really don't believe that it's a view to really wanting him. As I said on Monday's show, if we really wanted him, we would have offered him a contract pre-season like we did with Adam Dewey, whose contract was also up this year. We also would have offered him a sort of figure that said, we really, really want you. We don't want you to go anywhere. And I know he had a back-ended contract, but obviously, he's literally down. Well, on his last year, he's basically on half the money. He's been offered half the money that he's getting this year. So, look, like I said Monday, I don't think Brooks is going anywhere. I don't think other people are going to throw more money at him. The one thing I will say is perhaps if Luke Brooks wants a change of scenery and he gets a similar offer or even slightly less money than the Tigers, he might actually take it. But if it's ridiculously lower than what we've offered, I don't see Brooks going anywhere. And I don't think this saga's over, to be honest.
I just saw Kenny in the comments said Clarkey reported his sign with the Cowboys. Now, with Clarkey's little clips on Instagram there, if you look at the bottom, Clarkey just gets news from other sources and does a little clip. I actually really like how he does it. It's a good way to just quickly read stories without actually having to read the whole article. I'm just looking at the Fox Sports article. It's just rehashed Phil Rothfield speculating that we talked about literally on Monday night. So,
well, on Fox Sports News today, Josh, I saw an interview, looked like some sort of a press interview with Chad Townsend and the rumours about him being moved on. And he said, look, he goes, I'm very happy here with my family and I'm not going anywhere. So if Townsend's there, if Tom Dearden is there, Luke Brooks take one of those spots, they're not going to pay $500,000 or $600,000 for him to be in reserve grade, and they're surely not going to pay Chad Townsend $800,000 to be in reserve grade. So unless they move on someone, I just don't see Brooks going to the Cowboys. I really thought Canberra would be a good fit as second receiver, like taking the place of Jack Whiten, who also plays on the left side of the field, left foot kicking game, the same thing. So I thought maybe Canberra would be interested, but I don't think there's any club that would want Luke Brooks as a halfback to be, fair. I know he's improved this year, but all the other clubs have got better game managers than we have.
We'll see what happens with that whole Luke Brooks saga. Just a shout out to our friends at Mobile Corp. So they support local businesses by managing their IT, their networks, and their mobile devices. If you're a local business owner looking for a partner who will take away the hassle of dealing with IT issues, make sure you have cybersecurity in place and handle all your mobile device needs, then Mobile Corp can help. Mobile Corp is a family-run business and a long-time supporter of the West Tigers. Reach out to our mate Stephen and the team at Mobile Corp. Check out mobilecorp.com.au. That's mobilecorp.com.au. Shouts to our friends Paul Sirenin and Shane Walker donning the MLC phones jerseys there. Right on to the team list for this week. Az, do you want to do the team list? My voice is all right, but you did such a good job with your pronunciations. I'm going to throw it to you. Do you want to read our team list for this week?
Sure, why not?
When I get to Sean Blaw's name, my voice might go a bit too high because he's starting.
Okay, so fullback is Jareen Buller. The wingers are David Nofaluma and Junior Tupu. Brent Naden and Asu Kepaoa are in the centres. Stafford Toa is the 5'8" with Brandon Wakeham at halfback. The front rows are Fanua Pole and David Clemmer with Jake Simpkin at hooker. Isaiah Papali'i and Sean Bloor are the starting second rowers, with John Bateman moving into lock, and he's also the captain. Talon De Silva, Tommy Talau, Alex Twoll, and Alex Seyfarth are the bench, with Will Smith, Justin Matamua, Atasi James, Brandon Mansfield, and Tristan Riley in the reserves.
Beautiful. Roberto, a lot of changes this week. Obviously, no Appy means you pull Appy out of the side, and Steph, of course. That's two of our you could almost make an argument they're first and second best players in our team. So it's going to look a little bit weaker. But do you like the changes that we've made under the circumstances?
I don't like Tom Talau on the bench. I think we've got to cut that totally. Look, I guess it's experimenting time now. I really would have preferred Stafford Toa at right centre, where he's been playing really well for the last month or so. There's still time for that 17, 18 to get changed as, Will Smith come into the team for Talau, maybe, I don't know, or coming into number 6 and Stafford Toa moves out. Naden apparently hasn't been playing great in reserve grade. So look, it's about as all the troops available. That's probably who we were going to go with, or who we'd expect the coaches to go with. There's a few guys in lower grades that I'd like to see get a go. Fainu, James, a couple of big boppers there. But look, I guess the question is going to be, again, considering all our yardage attack especially revolves around Appy, where do the points come from? And Stafford being closer to the middle, he might be more creative, but he's just been such an effective runner and breaking tackles lately that, I just don't think he gets the room in the middle of the field there. But hopefully I'm wrong and it pans out and it goes really well.
Yeah, I would have liked Dane Laurie to get a crack at 6. Now, he's been named at fullback for Cup, but there was talk that he was in HIA trouble from last week. So I don't know if he's been left out of first grade altogether because he's just so far on the outer, or is he left out because they don't expect him to be able to play? So, but
yeah,
sure. Dane aside, Rob, you don't like Stafford in the halves, but who would you put there instead?
Oh, look, it's. I haven't seen much of New South Wales Cup guys, and I know the cupboard's empty. I'm just saying that you don't really weaken at one position to make another position. Like Stafford Toa might have a cracking game. He's been very elusive lately. And we can see that he can ball play a little bit. He tried to do a little bit of that, late in the game against the Titans. But look, we saw in the Canberra trial, especially in the first half, Wakeham and Will Smith combining together, and we put a try down the left-hand side. I think Naden was involved as well. So they have played a lot of football together, and it could work. But again, if Will Smith is playing poorly in New South Wales Cup, then they probably wouldn't try him. But then I'd also say, what's the point of having a Will Smith or backup halves if you're not going to give them a go in the halves? So it's just a real tricky one. And I don't know, has Tom Talau actually signed with Manly? We keep hearing he signed with Manly, but look, whether he has or he hasn't.
It's a Tuilagi situation.
It's exactly the same as what happened with Tuilagi last year.
Yeah, but I just haven't heard Manly announce it, that's all. But anyway, regardless of that, Tom's playing really poorly. He had one good game against Canberra and the other 3 or 4 games around it have been quite awful. So, look, we'll see how we go. But obviously, we're going to get onto the Melbourne team as well. They've got a heap of players out as well, but they've come off the back of a good win, and we've come off the back of a really, sort of deflating loss. So it'll just be interesting to see how it goes on Saturday night.
Did Jakey Simpkin, didn't he do a bit of halves training? I think it was due to a few people being overseas. Could Shifty Sheens maybe move Jakey to the halves and Talon coming on, obviously, to play 9?
That may be what happens. I do remember hearing that in the off-season as well, but we did have a fair chunk of players playing for some of the smaller teams in the World Cup late last year, so that would have been why, because we started our pre-season as early as the NRL would let us because of the fact that like we weren't one of the finals teams. But I worry that if that happens, how much more of the team gets shaken up. Like who's going to go off for who? Is it going to be a case of like if that was to happen, I think Star would stay on. Maybe
I don't think it could
AJ,
happen, Aaron.
Yeah, AJ would go off and Tommy Talau would come on, and that's just too much of a shuffle.
Debut game to play 80 minutes. It's not happening. And then, and
I'm not saying the start. I'm saying during the game. I think Jakey will start. I don't think, Talon's not going to play huge minutes. But
the last coach that, wanted to have a rotating spine was Paul McGregor, and he got sacked that same year. So, you don't rotate your spine. Your spine's called a spine for a reason. You need your spine to hold the rest of you up. Don't muck around with it. Don't keep changing position to position.
Look, maybe I don't know. Curtis Sirenen did all right in the halves back in the day.
He was the number 6 though.
Also, Stafford Toa.
But what are you saying? Sirenen.
Well, I'm saying Sirenen. You don't think of Curtis Sirenen as a 6, and with Benji, he was playing with Benji at 7, and from memory, we did. I remember him. I remember we carved up Canberra. I went to Canberra and watched us win 40-0 with Curtis Sirenen at 6. So maybe I don't know. Maybe Stafford Toa is adequate. Yeah, but like you said, where are the points going to come? I mean, they might surprise us, or we might look back on it and go, it was a dumb decision. I think it's just.
I don't think it's dumb, but I mean, we'll just see how it goes. I mean, one good thing is I know Wakeham will throw it around. Like unfortunately, he threw it around the wrong way a couple of times last week, and Stafford Toa's not going to be shy. Like he's got a lot of confidence at the moment, so that is one positive. But I just love what he's been doing at right centre. That's all.
I mean, Greg Inglis played a lot of 6, didn't he? And he's basically Stafford's basically our Greg Inglis now. Yeah,
he got man of the match. He got a Clive Churchill in when they beat Manly in whatever year it was, 2000 and I don't know 8 or something. 2006.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. But right. Az, do you want to have a crack at the Melbourne Storm team?
Yeah, there's a few names on here that I didn't think you'd want to have a crack at, Josh.
Yeah.
There you go. The real reason.
Okay, so Nick Meaney is the fullback, Will Warbrick and George Jennings are the wingers, Remus Smith and Marion Sebe are the centres, Jonah Pezzett is at 6 with Jerome Hughes, the captain at 7, Tui Kamikamitha and Nelson Asofa Solomona are the front rowers with Bronson Garlick at hooker, Trent Liero and Tarek Sims are the second rowers with Josh King at lock. Their bench is Tyron Wishart, Tom Eisenhuth, Alec McDonald and Aaron Penne. In the reserves, they have Justin Olam, Grant Anderson, Sualavi Faologo, Chris Lewis, and Kane Bradley.
I was just thinking, you'd almost make an Italian meal out of this, couldn't you? You've got penne and you've got garlic. That's pretty much it. But
you got not really much.
How do you is it Lilero? That almost sounds like it could
Liero.
be Liero.
That's what I've heard anyway.
It's spelled Lolero. But anyway, my stomach aside, Rob, Justin Olam surprised me. He terrifies me running at either of our centres, and he's left out of the side. That's a bit of a weird one. Why is he not cracking the first grade side at the moment?
He got injured a couple of weeks ago against, who was it? I'm trying to think who it was. He got injured, not last round, the round before. So
I can see him coming in.
No, he was expected to be out for like 2 or 3 weeks, I think.
He's on the extended bench, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well, if he's fit, he plays. But I mean, hopefully not fit. But look, Melbourne are missing a stack of players. Obviously, the 3 Origin players. Harry Grant, Cameron Munster, Xavier Coates. And then on top of that, as we said the other night, they've got Katoa out. They're missing Olam. Welsh is suspended. Like, if we've got them at the right time, but obviously we're missing, Brooks, Coruscant, half our spine, and we're missing Steph. So, there's a little bit of compensation for Melbourne. Look, at the end of the day, I think everything's going to hinge on Jerome Hughes and their fullback. If we can stop those 2 guys, they're the creative guys. Easier said than done. They've still got some big boppers there. Tarek Sims is no slouch. He's played Origin. So they've got some pretty good reserves there. I don't think their bench is much chop, but I tell you what, if David Nofaluma's ever going to get his 100th try given to him on a silver platter, as having Jennings opposite him. So that's why I really would have liked Stafford-Toa at right centre, because I know I would have said, boys, get on Robstradamous and have something on Noffa to score a try this week. But he still may do that. Yeah, he still may do that. But, it just would have been a lot easier with Stafford-Toa there.
As anything stand out for you, the Melbourne Storm side?
They may be without Munster and Harry Grant, but their forwards are still scary as all hell. Tuikama Kamitha and Nelson Asofa Solomona, he's just starting to find some form after having a bit of a early to mid-season sabbatical from an injury there. They're the players that worry me the most. Their bench is a lot stronger than ours. That's also a deep concern. And for a rookie, Will Warbrick is coming into form too and starting to play quite well. So going to have to defend him well on the edge too.
Yeah, it's definitely a big forward pack, and not having Steph, as much as we love that he's making his debut. Man, I know this game would probably disadvantage us to have Origin players back in it, but I just reiterate that it's fucking so dumb that we destroy NRL games this time of year because of Origin. I think there's got to be a solution around it. New South Wales Cup, that is on Sunday afternoon. The boys are playing at Lidcombe Oval. So, like I said, Dane Laurie's been named at fullback there. Man, the New South Wales Cup, you can see that a lot of them have moved up to first grade. Shouts to Dean Bloor. It'll be his second game for West, I think. Brother of Sean, obviously. He's been playing club rugby this year, and he's playing New South Wales Cup for us. But Matamua, Brewer as well. So there was talk that Brewer injured himself last week. So it'd be interesting to see. I thought Brewer would have made a debut by now, guys. It's just not working out for the kid.
Won't if De Silva has a good game this week either. It'll be further away.
I mean, you could play him. I guess De Silva's not going to, and Appy as well. But I mean, Brewer can play 14 and in the back row or something too, can't he? But
I guess it just shows that he's potentially a little bit further down the pecking order. He may have to wait to see if Talon can prove himself as the backup to Appy while Appy's out, so that when Appy comes back, Talon might be the one knocking Jake back down the pecking order, and then that might give Rua the chance to step up then. But I still maintain that Rua's probably a little bit too raw to feature in first grade. I think he still needs another year or so under his belt of training from Robbie to get him to ready to make his first grade debut, I guess.
Yep.
There's obviously a lot more raps on Talon at the moment, but maybe I don't know why that is compared to Rua, but there's obviously some reason for it, and that's probably why they've gone with Talon ahead of Rua.
So get out Sunday afternoon, 2:00. Watch the boys run around at Lidcombe Oval. I think the weather's meant to be pretty good over the weekend. So Jersey Flegg, they have the bye. So I guess the Cup boys are playing on their Pat Malone, unless there's a Ron Massey game before it as well.
Do we have anything before first grade this week, or is it just a standalone?
No, standalone game.
Just so stupid, man.
Yeah, I mean, Flagg's got the bye, but why couldn't Cup play before first grade? What's the issue? So
heaven forbid we get a bit more footy entertainment.
Yeah, it's a weird one, but look, I think they need, for that to start happening, I think they need national competition like we had with the Holden/Toyota Cup. So every team, all the Queensland teams and interstate teams have their own second grade, but it's just, I guess, not cost effective enough. And to be honest, do you reckon the crowds will be that much higher if a Cup there's a cup game before it, apart from the family and friends of those players. Do you really think
it might or they might not? But I mean, it'd be nice to watch the guys that are just below first grade, like
Yeah,
you did
for
in
sure.
the old days, and
Yeah.
sort of say, well, this guy's knocking on the door, or this guy isn't, or like, what do you do? Like, I mean, we'll just go end up having a feed next door at the club attached to the ground.
Yeah.
Like, there's just really nothing to do, and you literally don't have to come out until the start of the game. Like, I don't know, I just
it's
think,
good for the kids too, playing in front of a big like Lidcombe Oval. There's probably going to be literally friends and family on Sunday Arvo
come on, just
watching
anything.
them, whereas they can
And
play
look
against
at
few
look at
thousand
the early
people.
rounds as well when we had triple headers at Leichhardt and Campbelltown. Like we've had triple headers at our suburban grounds already this year. Why not give us another double header?
Yeah,
I think it just makes more sense to have. If like it's not always going to be possible because not every club not every NRL club is represented.
Yeah,
by
it's
a
not
team
synced
in
up. Yeah,
New South Wales Cup, but I believe the Storm don't have a team in New South Wales Cup, but they do
they
in
got
Jersey
Flegg.
Flegg.
Yeah, they got Flegg. Yeah,
because they had their reserve grade team is in Queensland Cup.
Who knows?
So,
yeah, I kind of miss the Holden Cup. Yeah.
Since we're playing, or since our reserve grade team is playing, and it's not a home game for the Dragons, why not just have it as a doubleheader?
Yeah, I'm sure there's someone that has.
I mean, we're going to get out there anyway, but it'd be better to just watch 2 games than 1 game. When you're driving all the way to Campbelltown, like it's fine for people who live locally, but the other thing too, you're trying to promote the game in Campbelltown, and if you're going to have lower grades or a younger team or someone,
the Magpies,
it's just great for the area. It just makes no sense. There's obviously a good reason. I just don't know what it is.
Well, maybe not a good reason, but a reason. Righto, Robstradamous, make us some money. What do you got this week?
Well, firstly, we should note, because it's been a while, that we got up last week with our 2-legged $4.13 multi with Kennar and Mulatalo, so they both scored. Look, I've gone Tuala and I've gone Felt this week, even though I think that's going to be a really tight game. Penrith and the Cowboys, there's just a real height mismatch between Felt and Taruva, so I feel like they'll be targeting him with a high kick. And then the Roosters, I don't know. I just thought the left winger would. I mean, Pauga's still a bit raw. He used to play with us, and he has improved a hell of a lot. But I just thought on the left side there with Ponga doing some damage and throwing those long cutout balls, I think Tuala will get a try this week as well. So again, it'll probably be a similar price to last week, somewhere in the high $3 mark or just over $4 mark. So get on those two, and if you're feeling frisky, chuck an offer in as well to get his 100th.
Yeah, I reckon an offer is a great bet for a try for sure this week. Righto, on to our tips for the week. I tell you what, boys, my fall from grace, my tipping only got 3 out of 8 last week, but I'm just plummeting.
You copied me last week, Josh. You really shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, it was not like I see your tips before you sent them through, but shocking. I got it's tough this week, all the Origin outs and ins, but I've gone the Cowboys for the upset over the Panthers. Yeah, just the Panthers being with so many players out. I know the Cowboys are missing a couple as well. I just thought maybe at home they can do a West Tigers and beat Penrith in Origin week.
Yeah, I was thinking like that too, Josh. And look, Penrith's win against the Roosters was impressive, but I'll tell you what, golden point between the Cowboys and the Panthers was nearly the Nostradamus tip, or the Robstradamus tip. So I found it hard to split, guys, but I just went with the winning team from last week. So, but yeah, it's a toss of the coin, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm not 100% confident on this one either. I've gone with the Panthers purely because I guess they've still got the nucleus of a really good team there. They've got a few boys that obviously didn't get selected for Origin due to ineligibility or whatever other reason, but I think they're still a really, really strong team. Normally, the players that come in to replace their Origin boys step up, and they've got a halves pairing that's really looking to step up this week, and I think they'll get the job done, but in a very narrow one.
Rob and I have gone the Knights over the Roosters. Roosters obviously as well, Origin depleted and playing like shit at the moment. yeah, the Knights at home. Are they missing? Who have they got out for Origin this week? Newcastle, not
No one to my knowledge.
Frizzell?
Frizzell, of course.
Yeah,
Frizzell.
So a bit of a loss for them there, but yeah, Roosters, no Teddy. Who else are they missing?
I think Teddy's the only one. I don't think they have any Queenslanders, do they?
Yeah, no Tupou.
What about Collins? Is he playing or not?
Yeah, Lindsay Collins for Queensland. Did he get picked?
I don't know. I don't even know if he's picked. I don't care. Who cares about the Roosters?
Yeah, true.
But one thing I will say,
they might bet our pick. So yeah,
Joey Manu going back to fullback will help them a lot. I reckon. I think Joey Manu playing 5'8" has been absolutely a dumb move. They should never have moved him from centre, but he'll get more room at fullback, so he could have a big game. But yeah, Newcastle with not much confidence, but you got to lean Newcastle given how they played against Brisbane, almost knocked them off, and the Roosters were rubbish against the Panthers.
Yeah, their halfback goes all right up at Newcastle. Parramatta Eels, we've all gone over Manly on the road without Turbo. It's just
and DC.
And DC, yeah, but yeah, him as well. I mean, Moses being picked, like it's a pretty big game this for standings wise. Again, another reason why it's just so dumb.
It'll be
Para
interesting
versus Para v Manly's like a big rivalry, and this game's just it's a big what do you call it?
Origin affected.
No, it's just like for the table in terms of the standings. It's an important matchup. Like it's a vital game for either team. I think Para can sneak back
one of those
the
4-point games. Yeah,
and it's just as Matt just said on the Facebook, both have their star halfbacks missing. So
and Jake Arthur playing against his old team and his dad.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting.
We've all gone Storm, unfortunately, against West Tigers. I hope we're wrong, but
we should be wrong, guys. We should have enough to beat them. Geez, but we've just got to. My theory, I just think it's going to be a low-scoring game, probably even lower than the game against Canberra. But we've really got to win the battle of field position. If we can just win that forward battle, it's going to be an absolute grind. But if we let them get into the red zone too much, we'll have a little bit to worry about. But I think we can go with them. It's just where do we get our points from? That's all. I'm hoping even 18 points will be enough to win it. But I'm definitely expecting a low-scoring game.
Just looking at the weather, it's going to around kickoff. It's single figures in degrees on Saturday night. So
probably same with the score.
You got a margin, Rob, or any sort of prediction?
No, I really I don't know what the in terms of the gambling side of it, I don't know what the overs unders is, but gee, right now I'd be smashing the unders. The unders is probably going to be about somewhere around 36 or 38, but if they're offering any more than that, you'd be mad not to take the unders because we'll defend, we'll tackle, and they're missing so many players. So, there's going to be a lot of disjointedness to both them because, they're missing Munster and their hooker, Harry Grant. We're missing our hooker and our halfback. So I just think it can't be very cohesive. So if both teams, show up to play, which I'm sure we will, and I know they will because they've probably got more to play for, then it should be a really low-scoring grind.
The over-under I found is 40.5.
Yeah, well, I'd be going unders for sure.
Sean Blaw's only $4.50 for a try. That's not great value, is it?
Cue a 36 to 34 margin now that I said
that. Yeah, I mean the cold, greasy night. I can see it becoming a bit of a grind. But
we went 68 minutes without scoring a point the other week against Canberra, and these guys are, I think they're better than Canberra, although they're missing some players. So anyway, let's hope the boys can find something and Wakeham and Toa can wake the boys up a bit.
No pun intended, but he's $7.50 on Sportsbet. Talking about Sean Blaw here. Maybe I'll get on that. So it's weird how such fluctuation between the different apps.
You can't get on Steph for us this week.
No, that's what I mean. I normally throw a bit on Steph to score, and I will for Origin. Actually, while I'm at it, let's see what
same game Tigers multi would be Captain Bateman, Noffa, and a Tigers win. That'll pay decent.
Yeah, I wonder what Steph is playing. Because how many minutes do you reckon Steph's going to get for the Blues?
Maybe about 30.
I don't know, guys. I'm so happy for Steph to be there. I think he's going to come back twice the player. He's going to know exactly what he needs to work on in the off-season, etc. But, offensively, he's going to be fine. I just worry about his lateral movement. I hope he doesn't get more than a 15, 20-minute stint either side. Like, if Freddie tries to play him for 25, 30 minutes, it could be trouble because those games are at breakneck speed. And we've seen Steph get a bit lazy with the inside ball sometimes. I mean, as you would when you're as big as him. I'm not criticising him, but just saying, like, there's some lateral defensive issues there that he's got to work on.
I'm just really happy for him. Like, we knew we wanted him to get it.
Yeah.
We felt like he probably deserved it after his 2021 season, but then he's dropped off in 2022. But he's come back absolutely roaring this year, so I'm stoked for him. He's probably going to be the only reason I'm actually going to watch the game.
Yeah, he's going to come back a better player, guys, and it's good for our club. It's good for our club. It's good for him. He'll get a lot more confidence out of it, win or lose. I really don't care who wins or loses. I just want him to come back a better player for the Tigers.
So he's
10-1
on tab to score a try. So I might have a crack at that. Last game of the round, we are all on the Sharkies to beat the Doggies. They're at home. Nico Hines didn't get picked for Origin, so he's playing for. That's probably the most likely tip to get up this week. You reckon, boys?
Yeah, Nico's got a point to prove.
Canterbury can improve. They were pretty poor against Para, so I mean, and Cronulla are in a bit of poor form as well. So they've lost to Brisbane, and who they lose to last week, whoever it was, Melbourne. So they've lost a couple of games. They've played quite poorly in both games, not scoring many points. So they'll be looking to bounce back and put a number on Canterbury.
Canterbury's still decimated by injury too.
Righto, Patreon question time, patreon.com/WestsLife. You can want to support the show for less than $3 a month. Join our Discord and drop questions like the guys have here. If you want to find that link as well, go to the link in our Twitter and Instagram pages, and there's a link to the Patreon if it's hard to find there. Our little link tree link on those. Righto, Tim Colgate asks, how many good playing years do we have left in our veterans and newer signings? And are you guys concerned going forward with being able to fill their position with our younger boys for when their form starts to dip? Who wants to have a crack at this one first?
Oh, look, it's been one of my worries. I know we discussed it the other night, and Aaron was saying, like, a couple of those, we've only got one guy in the 30s, which I think is Appy, and the other blokes are in their late 20s. But I think even in, say, 2 years from now, it's a big ask for guys like, David Clemmer to be butting their head against a brick wall and being the player that he is this year. And so, I do worry who's going to fill those spots. But this is what, blooding players like Talon de Silva is about. I mean, if he's like anything, I've never seen him play, but the raps are just ridiculous. So if he's anything like that, I don't want to put too much pressure on him because I'm not going to judge him on one game, but he's meant to be the guy that's going to take over from Appy. So, we do need these kids to come through. But I just think if we can get a bit of a winning culture, which is easier said than done, if we start winning a bit more, show a bit of unity off the field as well, I think that makes it more attractive for players to come over. And if we keep losing, we're just going to keep being laughed at no matter how hard we try, and then it's harder to attract players. So like I said when I first come on the show, I think success is going to come from within mainly, but that said, we have bought really well with Papali'i and Bateman and Clemmer, so we have done some astute purchases. Hopefully we can get a couple more.
I mean, Talon and the Magpies won a comp, so hopefully they do bring a bit of a winning culture. And I mean, 2005 a crop came through and they had such a great chemistry with each other. So that's kind of, I'm more concerned, as you've preached all year, Rob, that these players who have only got 2 or 3 years left in them, that we're not going to put good players around or adequate players around them that we can make the finals. I keep saying it. We had the money and enough talent in our side now that I expect a top 8 side next year. We got to make the right moves, but yeah, the squad's halfway there. The 4-pack's one of the best in the comp. Can we, find a decent half? Our fullback of the future's locked in, so yeah, it beggars belief why the team is better than what might be if we lose Saturday night coming last. Again, I honestly think the squad's better.
But even if you just look at a couple of individual players, Josh, like Fanua Bole, like he made his debut less than a year ago, basically. Like it's almost a year, but it's less than a year. Like in a couple of years from now, he's going to be as good as anyone in the pack. So, and then that, like Bole will take the place of, your Clemmer or whoever it may be, your Bateman or something like that. And then someone else will be coming through and being at his stage where he is now. So I just don't think it's anything to worry about. We've just got to, that's what the whole plan is about. And I know that's what Benji has addressed the board about. When we do get the talent, we've got to find a way to keep them. So, and that's why we're being so strict with the dollars we spend on everyone. So I just think we'll wait and see what happens. But they've got some, they know what is out there and they know what other clubs are going to try and do to swoop on our talent. And they're prepared for that. It's just a matter of how do we keep them? Why do you want to stay at the Tigers and not play finals? And, why should you go to the other club that does play finals? We've got to get that mentality out. And we can only fix that up by winning games until we start winning games regularly. But, honestly, if I was a player, I'd love to come to the Tigers and play with Appy and play with Bateman and play the young fullback we've got. I mean, it's a pretty decent team. So, if I was a Ben Hunt, I'd love to come to the Tigers and finish off my career there. When they say that Canterbury's got more of a chance of winning a comp before us, I think what a load of shit. They're in a very similar position to us. And, the Burtons and the Addo-Cars and Tafita Pengai Juniors and all these guys, they haven't set the world on fire. And, Kikau's been out injured and, they're getting Crichton next year. Whoopie-doo. That's one player. We've got, just as good a team as them. So, I hope we can attract players. We'll see how we go.
Not to mention the allure of playing or being coached by blokes like Robbie Farah, Benji Marshall, who are basically like the lifeblood of the club. Benji in particular, with the impact he's had on the game, I would think there's an incredible draw about potentially coming along and being coached by Benji.
Yeah, well, as I've said previously, all the word I get from, the second-hand information from players is they love playing under Benji. So that's a good thing. And look, we've seen it every week, even with the loss against the Titans. They had 28 points scored with roughly 20 minutes to go, and the scoreboard didn't leak. There's still the effort there. So he's definitely getting players to want to play for the jersey and the badge. So as long as that keeps happening, I think we're in good stead. It's just, when we get those 66-16 capitulations against Melbourne or whatever it was, they're the things that, I hope we don't see again. And I don't think we will either, no matter how decimated our team is.
Gus, speaking of Robbie, no, go as.
So I've just been taking a bit of a look at our squad currently and looking at our forwards in particular, how long they're contracted for. So Johnny Bateman is for 4 years, which we all knew. Sean Bloor, even though he's being shopped around, is contracted next year.
1 more year.
Yeah, 1 more year. And as our veterans as well. So David Clemmer, he's contracted for 3 years with a mutual option for 2026. So there's a potential he could go a 4. Appy's on that 3-year or 2-year contract with a mutual option for the 3rd. Noffa, he's one of our veterans. He's got 2 more years after this year. Isaiah Papali'i has 2 years after this year. We've already got Pole locked up for 2 years after this year. Twoll has 1 more year after this year, and Stefano, he's still got 2 years after this year. So our forwards in particular are looking pretty good, especially with our younger ones. Matamua, he's got 2 more years after this year. I don't know if I mentioned him before. So we're looking good in the forwards in particular. Obviously, we don't have a lot of veterans there. I'd say the veterans are the Nofalumas, the Coruscaws, the Clemmers, and the Batemans. Other than that, we don't, and even the Brookses, I guess. But other than that, we don't have a lot of I guess, veterans in the team. It's a lot of the young kids coming through. The veterans are
and
more
plenty
in
in
the
their
coaching
prime
squad.
too. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Like there's a lot of good footy left in a lot of those names I just mentioned.
It's why the Brains Trust was going so hard after Mitch Moses and any halfback basically that they could find, because they really believe that the halfback spot is the one spot we're lacking and the missing piece. They're very confident in filling out the back line the way they want. Forward pack that's only going to get stronger. So they just really wanted to, that's why they threw the kitchen sink at Moses. Unfortunately, it didn't come off. And, they've tried other guys. They've tried Sean Johnson and, they've even gone to France to try Mitch Pearce and whatever. So, look, hopefully we can find someone or develop someone and, like we said the other night, maybe throw money at a young player like the Dolphins did for Katoa and just, give him the keys and say, this is your team if you can prove, you're worthy of it.
Gussie, he asked, can Robbie and Benji have one last dance? Just 6 to 8 weeks, one more round.
Benji might be able to. I don't think Robbie would with his knee the way it is, but I'm sure Benji could do it. Apparently, he runs rings around him at training. So
he was doing that all off season, so which didn't really give us a lot of confidence going into the off season, because it's like, well, if he's showing up our team, what are the rest of the comp going to do to him?
Yeah, I don't think that's happening, boys.
And lastly, Carla asked, do we reckon TDS could end up starting and Simpkin bench next week? I assume Carla, I think she's in the chat there. Carla, do you mean next week as in the next game? Because we've got the bye next week. So, or do you mean literally on Saturday night? But, I mean, if De Silva ends up being the starter, that means we probably would win Saturday night, and he has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I think even if he has a lot to do with it, guys, and he plays his ass off, I just think Jake's going to get the bulk of the minutes. We just got to blood him in. Like if he comes on, say, 10 minutes before halftime and 15 minutes after halftime and has that 25-minute period and looks like Robbie Farah and has the best game. I mean, obviously we'll try and up his minutes a little bit, but it'll be a big ask to get him to start. And, suddenly he's got to play 25, 30 minutes straight in the first half. And let's just build him in, guys. And the season's done. The season's done, unfortunately. But I just couldn't see him playing the bulk of the game and Jake coming off the bench.
Let him grow. Let him develop. I just want to take a quick look to see if did Jake Simpkin... No, so Jake came on when Appy went off and stayed on for the rest of the game. So he played out the full second half. So I'm wondering how many minutes. Yeah, so I'm wondering how many minutes they'll give Jake before they bring him off. Like whether he would play the whole first half and bring TDS on for the part of the second half, or whether they do what we think and bring TDS on late first half and bring Jake back on for the last 20 minutes or so. But I don't know. It's a tricky one, especially for a young bloke on debut.
The coaching staff will have preconceived ideas about how long they want him to play for, when they want him to come on, but obviously that can get thrown out the window with an injury, can't it? Just like we did with Appy the other night. So, yeah.
And the thing is, the thing with TDS is he's only played like 2 games that are 80-minute games, because Jersey Flegg and Harold Matson, what have you, are 70-minute games.
I don't even know what the bloke
looks
looks
like. That's a bit of a step up there too.
I don't even know what he looks like, so I'm looking forward to seeing him play.
Well, it's on the cover of this episode, but
Okay.
Good looking kid. So Shane Coet, our Benjamin Marshall team member, he says, "Hey guys, I haven't got many thoughts on this weekend's games. I'm still deflated after last week. At least Appy will be fresh for next season, a new season in which anything could happen. I hope they get a decent crowd at Cambo, but I think they'll be lucky to break 7,000. What do you guys think?" Yeah, I think won't be 5 figures. A cold Saturday night, Origin against Melbourne. I think
very deflated fan base as well.
I reckon 6.5, 7. I hope West Tigers fans prove me wrong, but not much to play for. It's basically the only thing that could make this game less appealing would be rain, but which it's not meant to. He said, finally, let's go around the room. If you could have any player from any club from any era to join West Tigers on a 4-year deal in 2024, who would it be? I'd have to go Thurston. I'd go Andrew Johns.
Yeah, I'll go Cooper Cronk.
Although could it be maybe prime Benji Marshall? We're talking about bringing Benji back, but
yeah, I want the best game manager that's ever been. So I'll take Cronk, and people forget how fast he was in his younger days. The guy had blinding speed over 30 yards, great kicking game, great passing game. Yeah, geez. Yeah, there's not much difference. Don't get me wrong. Andrew Johns, probably most would go for Andrew Johns. I'm just a Cronk.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd probably
7.
have to go Cronk or Thurston.
Yeah, a 7. It'd definitely be a 7.
We definitely need a 7, but yeah, I love to see Ellery Hanley there and a few other old blokes from bygone years.
Gary Freeman.
Yeah, Wiz was a good halfback. I don't know if he's sort of halfback I want for this team, but yeah, Wiz is going to be a massive upgrade on anything we've got at the moment.
The question about the crowd, guys. So we're heading out on Saturday night. So we encourage everyone to get out there, come say g'day. Probably going to get a feed after the game, I'd say. We haven't really talked about this too much off air, but possibly get a feed after the game because probably get there for kickoff and drown our sorrows after it. How's that sound, boys?
No.
Or celebrate a victory. Who knows? Who knows?
Dinner before the game and celebrate a victory afterwards at the club.
Righto. That does it. Our next episode is 8:30 p.m. Monday night. We'll review the hopefully a win. Who knows, boys? Come on, put in fire up. I know no Appy.
Fingers crossed.
We'll see what happens. We'll be out there, like I said. Come say g'day. We'll be freezing our asses off, but at the same time, you'll see the steam coming off our heads as we scream at the referee for not letting the Storm lay all over the play the ball. I can see that.
They've been doing it all day, sir.
All day, so there'll be more swear words from me.
Apologies. Johnny Bateman will have a blinder. Johnny Bateman will have an absolute blinder.
All right, boys. As always, snuck it in Monday night. So your Denver Nuggets are the NBA champions, just reiterating that. But onwards to Saturday night. Go the Tigers.
Go the Tigers.
Go the Tigers.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the WestsLife Podcast. Please follow us at WestsLife Pod on Instagram and Twitter and facebook.com/WestsLife Pod. You can also support and take part in the show at patreon.com/WestsLife and give us a subscribe on YouTube and turn notifications on. We'll see you again next time on another episode of the WestsLife Podcast.